Hi, welcome once again to Senior Focus. I'm your host, Bill Adams. Senior Focus is a show designed for adults over the age of about 50 or so. But of course, if you're younger than that, feel free to stay tuned. We try to bring you information about local organizations, not only that are more serious, about maybe health issues and legal issues and things like that, but also just things that you might want to go visit in the Youngstown area or activities you might want to participate in to try to get out of the house, especially after a long winter we've had. So before we get started, though, I want to thank Greg Roten from Armstrong's Channel 20 and 100. He brings the show to you every week. And then also thanks to Keith Kaiser, who is the head of the Davis Visitor Center, and he allows us to use the beautiful Davis Visitor Center to film the show. But today we actually have someone who works with Keith, and his name is Andrew Pratt. Andrew, you're the Assistant Horticulture Director, right?
Yep, correct.
Yeah, and you're relatively new. Is it, what, about
3.5 months? Yeah, 3.5, 4 months I've been here.
Yeah?
It's great place.
And are you from the area?
I'm actually from Cleveland, so
Okay.
yeah, born and raised in Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm quite familiar with Youngstown. My wife went to grad school here, so I
Okay.
visited her during her college years, and I worked for Cleveland Botanical Garden for about 6.5 years before I started here, and I've been in horticulture my entire life, about 20 years, so it's hard to believe. So.
Well, and this is a tremendous garden area here. I mean, for a city, you think of the size of Youngstown. We're not a huge city, kind of medium size, but what's your initial impression of the Fellows Gardens and the park in general?
It reminds me a lot of, if I can compare it to Cleveland Metro Parks, where I grew up as well, too. They're both very, very comparable park districts. It's kind of an interconnected bunch of green spaces that kind of start at the northern reaches of the city and goes down into the southern limits of the city as well, too, down into Struthers and other areas. Mm-hmm. We have such a wide variety of different reserves and preserves and the recreation spaces as well, too. So it's a great park district, and like I mentioned before, I was very familiar with Fellows Riverside before I even started here.
Right.
I love the garden. It's a beautiful garden, great views of Lake Glacier, and the Rose Garden's fabulous as well too. So.
Mm-hmm. And we're starting into maybe the peak season of the garden, probably that springtime. Mm-hmm. And I know we're going to talk about several of the activities that are going on, starting in April, but maybe going through May. Mm-hmm. And you have we have activities here that are going on. Do you want to start with maybe the horticulture end of what's going on, and then we could expand out to all the things going on in the park? Yeah.
As far as events go, we have a daffodil tour that will be offered on April 25th and the 26th. That's going to start at 2 p.m. in the gardens. It goes about an hour and a half or so. We have over 200 species of daffodils throughout our grounds. Great collection. Keith is the connoisseur of narcissus, and so I'm excited to see that and participate in that. Additionally, on a similar note, we have William Kalina, who's coming in April 30th. He is the director at, I believe, Booth Bay Botanical Garden up there in New England. Oh, okay. And he's going to be talking about wildflowers. He's also doing a tour through the garden. I believe it starts at 5:30, goes till 6:30, and then the actual presentation starts at 7 p.m. here at the Davis Center. So we're all very looking forward to that as well too. So it's going to be a great event.
So how does something like that come about? Do you and the other staff, do you go out and search for people who are experts in the field and say, we would like you to come to the park? Or
yeah, we've been lucky. I mean, since I've been here, we've had some great presenters. We previously had a gentleman who worked at Monticello at Jefferson's former estate, and he spoke, I believe it was early mid-March or so. He had been their head gardener there for about 30 years or so. So, he was an impressive speaker. Also, we do have some of our local OSU Extension personnel who come in and speak as well too. So, all experts in their field.
Mm-hmm. You also have a lot of classes for local gardeners. Who puts those on? Is that the staff, or is it friends of the gardens, or the garden clubs? Or
It's a combination. Yeah, some of the staff lead. For example, we have the Master Gardener series that we're offering right now. That we're about a quarter of the way into. and that's taught by our staff members here at Mill Creek Metro Parks Fellows Riverside Gardens. And also, as I mentioned, William Kalina, he's leading the tour before his presentation. So people like that, they participate in the classes as well too. So, and we have yoga here on a weekly basis as well too, which is taught by a yoga instructor, Marina. And so we have a gamut of things here to offer.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, and we were going to get into, again, some of the activities. I just noticed that you've got gardening basics. That's one of the, this is open to anyone?
Yes.
Basically, yep. Anyone can come in. Pruning. I guess that's important, right? You want to talk about a little bit about some of the basics of gardening that you...
Yeah, absolutely. Winter, or even the end of winter and early spring is a great time to, get out there when it's kind of, sort of warm, sort of cold, time of year, and get out there and make some cuts that, on plants that, would leaf out into the spring and summer and be kind of difficult to see the interior branching network. I highly recommend, a sharp pair of pruners. This is a Felco number 10 for a lefty like me.
Okay. They come in lefty.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I always encourage people to have nice, sharp, clean pruners to make nice cuts, nice clean cuts. And also a nice pair of loppers and also like a mini handsaw as well, too, which is nice to have. So.
So there's another one that's coming up. Well, there are, again, some other events. I see Botanical Mornings with Lynn. What happens at that during? Is that a walk or kind of an exploration?
Yeah, Lynn, actually, who's coming in here in about 5 or 10 minutes, she's going to talk a little bit about SOAR in the reading program, and she can probably touch on that a little bit more and what she participates in during that particular class. But we all, again, as a staff, participate in this. I am actually going to be teaching the interior tropical plant portion of the series as well, too. So.
Oh, okay. When is that coming up?
Oh, man, I think that's is it September? I want to say it's later in the season, so I think they're giving me a chance to get my feet wet here first. And
well, and you just came out of, I think there was the big orchid exhibit during the winter.
Yeah, it was nice to see some color in the building and kind of think of spring.
So what are some of the first things that are going to be appearing in the garden as the spring arrives, and maybe walk through the process of that?
Yeah, no problem. I've noticed that due to the cooler weather, a lot of the plants are a little bit behind. Some of the daffodils, tulips, and whatnot. If we get a warm spell here, in the next week or two, we may see some more spring ephemerals emerging. But for the moment, things are kind of hanging on to winter still a little bit. But I walked through the garden actually on my way over here to the center, and I found it's a small little plant, but it's called Siberian squill, and or Scilla, is the Latin on that. And then your typical garden crocus as well too. We have a problem with these because the squirrels and the little chipmunks like to dig up the bulbs, so we don't have too many throughout the grounds.
Oh, boy.
Most people think of irises, being summer flowered. You're probably thinking of the bearded irises and whatnot, but this is actually a spring flowering iris, which is nice. And then of course the cliche but wonderful narcissus or daffodil. This is a miniature daffodil too, and as I mentioned, we have the daffodil walk the 25th and the 26th. So excited about that. And then the ever floriferous, and you probably smell it from here, the hyacinth. I don't know if that's a good angle in the hyacinth, but a couple tight buds ready to pop over here too. But these are actually inside our building, but I wanted to bring them as props to show people what what's going to be popping up through the gardens here in the next week or two. So I'm excited about it. So.
Well, and that's a point I'm glad you mentioned about being able to smell and the aroma. I'm hoping that people will actually make the trip. I'm glad that we're able to bring some of the color to people who are, again, you've been basically in the house all winter because of the bad weather. But we want you to, come to the park and to the gardens especially because, not just seeing, but it's the whole experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of taking in the aromas and things. And then in May and June, again, you have the famous rose garden. When do they start appearing?
Well, I had to adjust my timing here a little bit because when I worked for Cleveland Botanical Garden, we typically saw a peak in the roses, and I'd say late May, around Memorial Day or so. I'm told in the Youngstown area, it's about a week or two later, so we're talking probably about the first or second week of June should be the peak in the rose garden.
Okay.
So it should be a fabulous display as well, too.
Well, while I'm thinking of it, again, you work with the the Friends of Fellows Gardens, and I'd mentioned before that just yesterday, before the show, great timing, I got a reminder to renew, my wife and I, to renew for the Friends of Fellows Gardens. So I actually have that, if you don't mind taking
Sure,
that.
no problem.
But again, this is, it's available to anybody. It doesn't have to be Mahoning County resident, right?
Correct, yeah.
But anybody in the area can join. Do you have any idea about how many folks might be Friends of the Gardens?
Yeah, we have just under 1,000 members, and we'd love to reach that 1,000 mark this spring. So, feel free to join us. As Friends is a very supportive organization. We couldn't do a lot of things that we're able to do without their support here at Fellows Riverside Gardens. Feel free to become a member, and thank you again for renewing.
Oh, sure. No, that's I'm glad for the reminder. I let it slip for a month or so. I noticed there's some other things that go on a regular basis. We have hikes and walks listed here for the park, and one of them that's coming up is a search for spring wildflowers. And it looks as though you have different locations on this.
Throughout the park?
Yeah.
Yeah. There are, I'm a big fan of the spring ephemerals, spring wildflowers as well too, with Virginia bluebells and Mertensia, Virginica being one of my favorite plants actually. And Keith told me that I have yet to see it because it hasn't been in bloom, but there's a large stand in the metro parks as well too. And down near Poland, I'm told as well too, there's a nice stand of Virginia bluebells as well too. So I'm excited about that.
In fact, you have the new Trolley, which I still haven't had a chance to ride on. It's about 6 months or a year, I think, that you've had that running. But you have trolley tours throughout the park that are coming in April, and I'm sure throughout the summer. But there's one that's for the bluebells, and that's going to be, looks like April 26th and also May 1st. But that would be a lot of fun, I'm sure, to take a drive around. It's actually going around the park and then out to Poland Woods.
That's great, yeah. Looking forward to that. And one thing I failed to mention, Bill, is that talking about some of the flowering plants, we have quite a few of these across our grounds, and this is witch hazel.
Okay.
Hemamelis is the genus. And this one, actually, you probably can't smell it, but it has a nice light fragrance to it. And there's different colors out there. There's you'll see yellows and orange and even reds, and so it's a great plant. Even when we don't have stuff like this in bloom across our grounds, it's nice to see some color out there in the gardens this time of year. And again, there's a fragrance to it, so you walk outside, you smell spring, and it's actually this plant. So it's a nice plant. This is a hybrid of the species, but I highly recommend the plant. So.
And you have, I think, also tours that go from time to time. That'll go out to gardens around the country, or at least regionally, right?
Correct.
Like I've been talking with Keith last year. I know they've gone to maybe up to Buffalo and I think Philadelphia area. Is there something coming up this year?
There is. We had 2 events, and unfortunately one was canceled, and I am sorry I don't have the other event.
Yeah, it may be in here, and we'll
Yeah.
see if we can find that. That just dawned on me, though, that I remember that you take those. Oh, by the way, these are available to the public also, right?
Yes. Yep.
This is the spring newsletter, basically, for Friends of Riverside Gardens. And, well, here's something we haven't talked about. I'm looking at it on the back.
Yes.
The plant sale.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess that's very popular.
Yeah. Yep. It goes, runs through the 7th, 8th, and 9th. I'm getting my dates correct, yes. Yeah. And that's ever popular, and you'll be able to find plants like this for sale, like hemamelis, rhododendrons, other flowering plants as well too. But it's it's a very successful event that we've had going on for some time now, so I'm really looking forward to it. And if you're interested in fuchsias, fairy gardening plants, whatever it may be, we're going to have it. So
you have a wide variety of things available. And then, well, before we also forget, I don't want to forget the new cafe. You've had a cafe that's been open in the past, but it's under new ownership. And would you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So we updated our cafe. We have some fresh paint across the entire cafe. It's a very kind of organic feel to it. And obviously the beautiful view of Lake Glacier. And we brought in new partners, Friends Specialty. And they actually have 2 locations already out of Salem, Ohio, and Youngstown downtown area. We've partnered with them. We had our official opening on March 17th, which is just, what, 2 weeks ago or so?
Yeah, a few weeks.
Yeah, and so we're offering teas, coffee, light lunches, excuse me, not light lunches, full lunches, with some light hors d'oeuvres as well, and cookies, whatever it may be. So.
And you can't beat the view. I mean, it's a tremendous view out, looking out over Lake Glacier. And I believe, actually it's on here, there's going to be an Easter buffet this year. And so that's a good new addition. And of course you have the shop, which I imagine changes throughout the year from, maybe the Christmas time, you have certain gift items, but now in the spring, there's going to be more, again, gardening related.
Exactly, yeah. No, we, in tandem with the cafe opening, we worked to kind of revamp our gift shop as well too. You'll notice that was freshly painted and updated as well too, and kind of a new eclectic offering of goods as well too. So.
And before we were starting the show, or to start talking here, we were talking about some of the birds, and I think you'd mentioned something about Lake Glacier and some interesting things going on there.
Yeah, I think it was about the. I think it might have been St. Patrick's Day, the day we opened, actually, at the cafe. We were over on a terrace outside the cafe, and we noticed a male and female bald eagle flying over, and actually it appeared to be they were attempting to mate over Lake Glacier, so it was interesting. So
romantic spot.
Yeah.
I guess for the eagles. And in fact, on the calendar for April, there's an Eagle Watch. That's on the 12th. But the Audubon Society meets regularly. That's at the Metro Parks Farm.
Correct. Yeah.
So again, there's quite a bit going on, and you touched on some of the healthy living. I think you'd mentioned yoga, but there's Tai Chi, and if you're not familiar with that, that's sort of slower movement, and which is good for some of us over 50. You may not be able to jump right into aerobics, but Tai Chi is more balance oriented, things like that. And I notice laughter yoga. That would be fun. I don't know if maybe they tell jokes while they do the yoga, but so there's a whole series of healthy classes, I guess, throughout the park. Oh, and kids.
Yep.
You want to talk a little bit about some of the kids?
Sure, absolutely. We have a lot of different events for children, not only at the farm, but here at Fellows Riverside Gardens. And one event that Lynn's going to touch on here momentarily is the Soar into Reading program, which is going to be on April 18th of this year.
Okay.
And it's an exciting event. I don't want to give away all the details yet, but Lynn will talk about that a bit more. So.
And of course, Keith has shown us. Sorry, I'm having something in my throat. Maybe it was one of the flowers.
The pollen, yeah. Some people are actually allergic to the hyacinth, so I'll move it away from you.
No, that's okay. I don't think that was it. But we've seen the outdoor garden for children, and that's always available for grandparents maybe to take their kids.
Yeah, it's a very popular garden here. So.
Well, thanks, Andrew. I appreciate it. And we're going to be speaking with Lynn next about the Children's Book Festival.
Thank you.
Thanks. And we're back with Lynn Zoccolo. Lynn is going to be talking about the Soar into Reading, the great reading, whole day of activities.
It is. A good day to celebrate books.
Yeah, and before we do that, though, we when we were talking with Andy, we forgot to mention there's going to be the animal baby shower. That's a week from Easter. And that's going to be at the Metro Parks Farm. That's always a very popular.
That is a very popular one down in Canfield, across from the Canfield Fairgrounds. And I would suggest going early.
Okay.
It's so fun to be able to see all the little baby animals, and I know they're bringing them in, so they're getting ready for the day. But it is a very, very popular event, so I would say get there early and be prepared just to be patient
Sure.
to get to see all the little baby animals.
And that's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday, the 12th. And that's a great event for grandparents, certainly, parents or grandparents. And this would be a great event, the reading and books, like a festival for books.
It
for
is,
kids,
actually, yeah. It's our 9th annual Plant the Seed to Read book festival for children of the Mahoning Valley, if you will. And like the baby shower at the farm in Canfield, it's free. It is free. That's the best thing. And it is a perfect opportunity for grandparents to spend the day with their grandchildren. We are going to have so many different activities. We have special guest authors, special guest storytellers. We have the helicopter landing from Akron Children's Hospital. That's going to be exciting in itself. We'll see how that one goes. And this whole Plant the Seed to Read book festival came about as a partnership with 4 different organizations. So Altrusa of Youngstown was the steam that got us rolling, if you will, and such. And then there's Mill Creek Metro Parks, and then there's the Public Library of Youngstown and Mahoning County, and also Western Reserve PBS. And PBS, every year we've had characters come in. We've had the Cat in the Hat. We've had George, Curious George, and such, and stuff. And this year, it's so exciting because we're going to have Peg plus Cat, which is one of their new children's shows. And it's the first time that Peg and plus Cat have made an appearance here in the Mahoning Valley.
Wow.
So I think that's going to be pretty fun as well and stuff. And they'll be available for pictures. And so bring your camera or your cell phone, be able to get the kids' pictures with the characters and such. And the characters will be appearing on the hour and such, just so people will know we have entertainment in between, but they have to take a break and then they'll come back on and everything.
So this is going to be both inside and outside.
It will be if Mother Nature cooperates with some nice weather. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But yes, it will be outside in the gardens. The characters will be in the Kidston Pavilion. In the gazebo, we have a wonderful children's trio from right in our neighborhood called Hey Kid. And they do the most fun music, and the little ones are out there, they're dancing and smiling, and Bill, it's just wonderful, wonderful. And then in the building, we're going to have a lot of vendors who will have activities for the children. The children, when they check in, they're going to get their own passport. And they'll be able to take their passport all around throughout the book fair, book festival activities and get stamped. So just like a real...
Like they're going on a trip.
Like they're going on a trip, because they're going to soar into reading, And we're going to have storytellers going on throughout the day. We will have activities, hands-on activities for all the children, and a healthy snack. We always like to include that. So they'll get to go through the kitchen and they'll get to build a healthy snack to either eat here or take home with them and such.
What a deal.
Oh, and another, flying birds and flight sanctuary is going to be here. And they're going to be here in the morning from 10 to 12. And I think that's going to be a wonderful opportunity for children to see these magnificent birds up close and to learn the story behind, maybe they were injured and now they're being rehabilitated to be set back into the wild and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
Do you know what type of birds they have?
I don't know offhand. I mean, I have seen them in some other places that I have visited, but sometimes they'll come across an owl, or I think even one time they had a falcon and such like that. So I think it's going to be whatever they're nursing at that particular time and such like that. But as you can tell, I can ramble on, but it's a wonderful event.
Yeah, also, I don't know if you mentioned the dog, the therapy dogs?
Oh, yeah. Sandra Phillipson, a local author, she is bringing her therapy dogs. So we're going to have Birds and Flight Sanctuary, we're going to have therapy dogs here, we're going to have the characters, Peg, plus Cat, so it's going to be happening. Now, because we get such a large crowd, Bill, I will tell you, we have valet stroller parking. Because what we learned the first couple of years was that when we have so many people in the building, that the strollers just present a new obstacle for everybody to wiggle around and such.
Right.
So we started offering valet stroller parking. So we'll throw that out there as well. We don't allow strollers into the Davis Center during the event,
Okay.
but we'll park your stroller for you.
And how many years is this
This
gone
is
on?
the 9th year.
Wow.
This is the 9th year. And it seems each year we get a little bit more grander, if you will, and such. And the ideas are out there, and we just love seeing the kids' faces. The little ones especially, we seem to get a younger crowd, but oh my gosh, they're smiling, they're dancing, they're just having a wonderful time. And what better way to expose them to the awesomeness of reading?
Yeah, and for many, it would probably be their first time in the gardens.
Exactly.
firsthand.
I'm so glad you said that, because, the mission of the gardens is to connect people with plants, and the first step in doing that is to get them here.
And then all year round, you have the children's garden.
We do the family garden, and it's very popular, and they will kick off with their family garden Fridays on May 8th, I believe, and they have a theme. She always likes to have a theme, and this year's theme is Peter Pan.
Okay.
So, and there's a lot of things going on in that family garden. So I would just say, watch the park calendar. You can
Right.
go online, and they'll even email it to you ahead of time when it's ready to come out.
Right, and I just happened to pick this up. I went on the walking path, but you can get this anywhere over at the Wick Recreation Area, Ford Nature Center, anywhere in the park you have and this is the April calendar. But again, they're online.
They are online.
And I've seen it in the paper.
Yep, our
it's
schedule's
published.
in there as well.
Yeah, and do you know if the bees are going to be back?
They are, they are. And the winter was a little bit tough on some of our hives. We did lose some bees, but we have more bees coming in. And Lori Moad, who is our family garden coordinator, she's already been very busy cleaning out the hives and checking on the queen bees. And she's rearranging the whole family garden down there to make it more accessible. And to tie in a pollinator garden, plants that attract the pollinators, the bees,
Right.
that we need for almost 90% of our food. So she's revamping things down there. So I think when people visit this season, they're going to be surprised and find things that are going to look pretty different down there.
Now you have, again, we're talking about the Plant the Seed to Read book festival, which is on Saturday, April 18th from 10 to 3. And these are a couple books, just samples of books that you have here.
Right. We have a wonderful children's selection of books up in our library, the Antonucci Library here at the gardens and such. And I just picked a couple books to show you because they're winged, fireflies and stuff. They've got their wings and such. But one of the best things, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Bill, because Altrusa of Youngstown, every year, they have given away a free book to each child attending.
Oh, is that right? So they'll get a book.
They'll get a free book.
Wow.
They'll get a free book. And again, in this age of technology and being able to download books and read them on your iPad or your Kindle and such like that,
Right.
I don't know about you, but I sure do like to hold a book in my hands, and I do the other as well, but I sure do love to hold a book in my hands. And nothing's better than a little one sitting on your lap, reading a book together.
Well, and again, for those of you who, kind of like me, think, oh, it's terrible that kids are just all on the computers and the games and things. Well, this would be the perfect opportunity to have a real hands-on, out in nature, seeing the animals, seeing the plants, reading a book, getting a book. So,
Absolutely. And here at the gardens, we have some spectacular views, and it's the best place to come and curl up with a book, and just to sit outside in the gardens and read a book and enjoy.
Well, thanks, Lynn. We've been talking again with Lynn Zucklow from the Mill Creek Metro Parks and Fellows Riverside Gardens. She specifically was talking about the Plant the Seed to Read Children's Book Festival. And again, we hope you'll come out to the Metro Parks, all over the parks, but especially to the Davis Visitor Center and Fellows Riverside Gardens. You've been watching Senior Focus. I'm your host, Bill Adams. We come to you a couple times each month. Thank you to Greg Roten from Armstrong's Channel 20 and 100. And thanks to, I usually say thanks to Keith Kaiser, but thanks to all the staff of the Davis Visitor Center for allowing us to film here. Until next time, thanks for watching.